Hello gamers and welcome back. I'm Rob, of course, or Warshack if you want to call me by my in-game name. And today we're going to be going over the Handlock deck guide. Very interesting, very fun in my opinion. One of my favorite decks right now to play due to the fact that it's first of all different than your Reno Warlock that's everybody's playing. Like everybody is, if you queue into Warlock, it's most likely Reno 95% of the time. So when you start whipping out the Handlock and you're playing duplicates of cards and your opponent doesn't know how to play around Handlock, and they think they can because it doesn't have any heal, but you in fact do have a lot of heal in the deck, you perform very well. The deck outvalues most control decks, and on top of that, if you can live past turn 5 or 6 versus most aggro decks, you'll find yourself a sweet win there too, due to the fact that just having 8/8s that you can faceless Shambler or just Twilight Drake and then Shambling him. Most people just give up right there and then because you just made an 8/8 wall or a 4/10 wall or something like that. For those of you unfamiliar with how we do our deck guides, we go ahead and we talk about the deck, why I have what I have in it. We'll talk about the synergies within the deck itself from the list, maybe a little thoughts I have on each individual card or a specific card. And then from there, we'll head into some ranked games. We'll play the deck. We'll talk about the mulligans, the matchups, what to be looking for, what to think about when you're playing the deck. We'll play roughly 3 or 4 games, depending on how many we win and lose. Normally, we win about 3 and lose 1. I just like to keep the loss in there because one of those games, it's good to... I find you learn most from your defeats than your wins, because the wins you obviously aren't going to change anything because you've won, but the losses, however, there's things that you could have changed to maybe turn around and get the win, which is overall going to make you a better player when you look back and reflect on what you could have possibly done better. But anyway, let's take a look at the deck list and head into these games, which I know is the most exciting part for you guys. So the Mistress of Mixtures, these I've actually tested with the Mistress of Mixtures, and I've also tested with the Refreshment Vendors. They both do exactly the same thing, besides the Refreshment Vendor being a battle cry and this being a death rattle, and then the stat difference. But I found that in this particular deck, due to the fact that we do not have Reno Jackson, having a card that heals you prior to turn 4 is very important, because you'll spend your turn 2 tapping, you spend your turn 3 either tapping and playing Mistress, but you'll never spend turn 1 just playing Mistress unless their board has already been established with at least 2 creatures and you've taken at least 2 damage, because you need Mistress to heal you for at least 2 and kill off 1 creature to get value out of her. And then also the fact that we already have a lot of 4 drops. We have Blast Crystal Potion, Defender of Argus, Faceless Shambler, Hellfire, Shadow Flame, Twilight Drake. If we add Refreshment Vendor to the mix, it doesn't really help anything. It does synergize well with Bran, but we already have Earthen Ring, Farseer, and things of that nature to synergize well with Bran. So I found the double Mistress really helps you out, and also you could get Mistress off of your Dark Peddler, which is very, very helpful. And I'll show you the real power of her in these games when we play her against aggro, and why she's better than Refreshment Vendor, in my opinion, in this particular list. Don't get me wrong, you could play Refreshment Vendor in replace of some of these other cards and the deck will still win. This is my build. You can change it as you please. I really hope that everybody who watches this doesn't just take this list, go onto ladder and start playing it. They kind of add their own little twist onto it, but that's just me. The double Mortal Coil is a staple in my opinion in any Warlock deck. You can maybe bring this down to 1 and play another Demon Wrath, which is pretty good in my opinion, because Demon Wrath and Hellfire are always cards you're looking for in the aggro matchup, and even in the control matchup you'll find that being able to do an additional 2 damage to the entire board if it's not a demon is very valuable, while Mortal Coil in the control matchups are a little bit, you don't want to draw necessarily because you're already tapping, but there's a lot of Pirates and Shamans, and this is a great way to kill totems or to finish off some big creatures with 5 HP that Shadow Bolt necessarily can't. So it's kind of just like a tech choice whether you run on 2 or 1 and then what you would replace it with. The Power Overwhelming is in combination with either Sylvanas or the Shadow Flame is why it's in here mainly, or maybe to trade your Dark Peddler into a 6/6 or a 7/7, then Mortal Coil it off past then. But I found the 1 Power Overwhelming is very, very helpful. And the Ooze is a tech in to defeat all of the Shaman and Warriors on ladder, along with the Rogues, but more so the Shamans and the Warriors, because defeating or destroying their favorite weapon is a really nice feeling. Also, Gorehowl is a great target for this. Medivh, if you're playing against a Reno Mage, hold on to the Ooze for Medivh. And then on top of that, It's good against the Warlock control matchup if they end up playing Jaraxxus. So this card can be used in a lot of different ways, and on top of that, it's a pretty solid body. The Dark Peddler is definitely a staple in combination with Bran, or just using it on turn, 3. Play this guy, you get a 2/2, and then you get to choose an extra one. So whether it's a Mortal Coil, Soulfire, Corruption, another Mistress of Mixtures, Finley, this card is so incredibly powerful and is so good. Bran, a lot of people are saying like, why? I got a lot of questions like, why would you play Bran in this deck? There's no combo, or you're not trying to do anything particular. But the reason is almost every single card in this deck, besides like 3, has Battle Cry. We look at Peddler, we look at Farseer, we look at Defender of Argus, we look at Twilight Drake. Like the list just continues, and it's just a very powerful card. And even if, let's say, you don't plan to use it in synergy with another Battle Cry, your opponent's gonna go out of their way to kill it. Which may extend them to use, 1 or 2 more cards than they would normally use just to kill a card that you may not get full value from anyway in that particular match. The Demon Wrath, like I said, run 1 or 2. Again, 2 Hellfires, 2 Demon Wraths, and a Shadow Flame is just gonna make you more annoying to your opponent. You don't win this game by playing, your Earthen Rings and your Mistresses and your Peddlers to attack face. You're winning this game through playing 2 Mountain Giants, 2 Twilight Drakes, Sylvanas, Jiraxis, and then being able to replicate them with Shambler. Like, you've got a lot of really big creatures, and most decks only run 2 forms of CC, whether they're double Hex, double Execute, double Entomb, double Shadow Ward Death. You know what I'm saying? Like, once they get past the first one, the most chances they don't have another one, and if they do after that, they have no more large scale removal, and then you'll just be able to just absolutely trample them with the creatures in this deck. The Earthen Ring is your heal. Again, this deck doesn't run Reno, so you have to be very, very careful and kind of play around tapping and when to tap, when to heal a creature, heal face in this deck. But over time you'll learn, and also comboing your heals with Bran is very important. So like on turn 9, Bran, Farseer, you're healing yourself for 12, or knowing when to like stagger your Mistress and Mixtures and whatnot. But again, we need heal in the deck, and these are Battle Cry heals, and they're decently statted as well. Double Shadow Bolt is a really nice card in my opinion. Unfortunately, it's not as good as like, a Fireball or a Frostbolt, but it's still a solid card. Kills Berserkers, kills Totem Golems, it kills Azure Drakes. It does its job. The Blast Crystal Potion is a single target removal. So much have I seen this deck get blown out by Van Cleef, and we have to wait till turn 7 to kill it, and that's just too late because by then we've died because there's not a Reno to save us, and once we get down to 10 HP, there's not really a great way to come back from there that early. Not to say this deck can't come back from 10 HP, but going to 10 HP prior to turn 5 is going to be rough. So the Blast Crystal Potion kind of gives you an alternative method besides Siphon Soul to remove a single target minion. The Defender of Argus Defender of Argus with Twilight Drake or the Giant or any other card, or with Bran, is fantastic. Being able to taunt up creatures to protect your face is what this deck is all about. I like the Faceless Shambler for the reason being it's another Twilight Drake or a Giant. You want to use this on your bigger creatures, but you also can use it on cards like Sylvanas. As long as you're getting at least a 4/5 body or bigger, it's worth it. I've even done it on 3/3s or 4/4s just to get the taunt to stop them from going face. Don't think you always have to get a crazy amount of value. Also keep in mind that you can power overwhelming a creature, Faceless Shambler it, and then Shadow Flame it or kill it off or attack face, and this guy will actually get the stats of the power overwhelming creature, which is a good synergy as well. Double Hellfire. This is your mid-game field removal. It's gonna basically destroy any Pirate Warrior or Shaman you play against, so mulliganing for this in those particular matchups is very, very important, and something you're definitely going to be looking for. Shadow Flame is your control matchup field clear, as you would most likely maybe Sylvanas, Shadow Flame, and then take whatever lives, maybe a Tyrion if it has Divine Shield. I don't know what you're going to be playing against, but there's just a lot of combination of cards that Shadow Flame and Sylvanas works very well in your favor. The Twilight Drake is a staple in any Handlock and even Reno deck. Making sure you have this. Let's say you're playing against, I don't know, like a Priest. You'll definitely keep this in your opening hand. You're actually going to be looking for both of them. Bane of Doom is a Tekken card. I like this card a lot. It's helped me in the past. Trust me, there's going to be games where you Bane of Doom and you get like a Flame Imp or a Void Caller or some really, really bad demon. But a lot of the time, the demon it gives you is above average, because most of the demons out there are statted by at least 4/3, I think, or higher. So as long as you're getting anything above like a 4/3, this card is worth it. Would you not play a 5-drop 4/3 deal 2 damage? I know I would. People play a 5-drop 5/4 that does 3 damage, and it requires you to actually have to have a creature in your hand. So this is not the worst card in the world, in my opinion. I like this card a lot. Plus, people don't expect it nor play around it. Siphon Soul, again, your single target removal that heals you. 2 Siphon Souls too much. 1 is just enough, and it's very basic and standard in many Warlock lists. The Sylvanas, we've talked about her in the past of what she combos with. PO, Shadow Flame, or just playing her on her own is very good. Lord Draxus, this guy is just insane. He's one of the best legendaries in the game, and he's not going anywhere because he's part of the basic set. So this guy is basically your control match automatic win. You play against any sort of control priest or control warrior, as long as you play it smart, and then when you play Draxus, they don't burst you down the turn or two after. Being able to create a 6/6 for 2 mana every turn plus a 3/8 weapon is absolutely insane. Your Mountain Giant, again, is a part of just the Handlock staple kit. You're going to be able to play this guy on turn 4 if you play your cards right. And if not, he's still good later on in the game. Like, let's say later on it gets like turn, what, like 9 or 10, and then you're going to be able to play Mountain Giant and then Faceless Shambler him. You put 16 power on the board, and one of them has Taunt. So it's just like, what is your opponent going to do with this, like a 2 8/8s, and one of them has Taunt? So just a very powerful card against any class. Not something you normally want to keep in the aggro matchup, but most of the time this guy will come in clutch, and you have no problem with Mountain Giant. So with that said, hopefully you've enjoyed my breakdown. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave them anytime during the video in the comment section, and let's head right into those ranked games. Alrighty, so heading into our first game here, we're going to be playing against the Shaman. Hopefully this doesn't end up like our Reno Mage deck guide where we only played against Shaman. I don't think we will, because it's becoming, I wouldn't say not as popular, but just more people are wanting to maybe play something else. So again, Shaman, Hellfire is really powerful, so is Earthen Ring. We know he's running the aggressive base, so I don't think Mountain Giant on turn 4 is going to be like what's going to happen unless he's playing like a slower version. So I suppose we could keep him just because we have Hellfire, right? So we have like 2 options on turn 4 based on what he has going on. So it's not the worst thing in the world. We actually have a turn 2 play now instead of tap because Dark Peddler actually gives us a card. There's no reason to mix Trist and Mixtures on turn 1 right now because we're still on the Mountain Giant game plan. If he's playing like a slower Shaman, right? Okay. This doesn't look too bad. And of course, when playing this deck, you can always assume that someone thinks you're Reno Warlock, which means they might like slower their game plan a little bit. Okay. So if we play, no, we have to basically tap here. And then next turn, this guy will cost 4, and then we can taunt him up. So I know this looks incredibly slow, but I think this is our best kind of way to win, is we're going to play out the Mountain Giant, Faceless Shambler him, and we'll be all right. And then we can like drop the Drake into 2 Defender of Arguses. We have a very defensive hand right here. Okay, so, you know, Hellfire does look nice. Oh, wow, we actually might have to Hellfire this depending on how wide he goes. Yeah, all right. This guy won't even live. This is too much damage. Rip us. Alright, so we're just gonna Hellfire. And next turn's like the, probably a giant Mistress of Mixtures, right? Or we could play Drake. Goes face with the Lightning Bolt. Feels good. He actually just might be dead next turn if he has like Lava Burst, another Lightning Bolt. That'd feel terrible. So you go Mixtures and Defender, but that's not a winning play. Alright, so we just hope he doesn't have lethal, and if he doesn't, we're gonna be able to kill off these Mistress and Mixtures, and then we'll be alright. So he would need, no, there's no way he has lethal right now. There's no way. And then we're going to be able to either Defender or Shambler, and I think Defender's a little bit better right now. Now it's just how do we kill off our Mistress and Mixtures? Because we're going to need to kill her. So we might just play this one and then taunt the 2 Mixtures. But then if he just has like spells, ooh, Farseer is really nice too. But unfortunately we can't, like, okay, so if we Farseer, we don't get to taunt, and if we taunt, we don't get the Farseer. So it's like, do we think if he runs the Lava Burst and Lightning Bolts, then this was the right play. If he has like Doomhammer something, I mean, what could he do? 9 from burst with no board, right? I'm not sure. One of these plays is a win, the other one is not. I mean, he doesn't have any chargers, so like, how bad could Farseer be? We go to 9, he has 6 mana. Double Lava Burst, we would have lost regardless. The only way we play around double Lava Burst is Siphon Soul this. But that's just like a really, really bad play. I'm gonna go with the heal face. I know we could have played the Peddler there, but I didn't. Shamans aren't known for like Leroy Jenkins cold blood. So if this was a rogue, I might have gone and played the taunt, right? Because it's a little bit more powerful. Especially that we're taunting 2 creatures instead of 1 because of sap. But in this situation, the only way to play around a double, like a lava burst would to be Siphon Souling that. But it doesn't look like we needed to do just that yet. So we have 3 mana, so we could go ahead, could drop the Peddler first. And just see what we kind of get. Like a Mortal Coil, actually Elven Archer. That's not, yeah, I think we're gonna pick Elven Archer. And then we're going to attack. Going to Elven Archer this. We're gonna heal. And then we're gonna Defender of Argus this. And now we win. So that it was pretty so it was pretty rough at the beginning there. We had to decide how we were gonna play out what we were gonna do with the cards we had. Obviously saving the Hellfire, very important, or we would have lost the following turn. And choosing in between the Mountain Giant and the Hellfire, just looking at the damage he had, there was no way we were gonna win there. So we kind of just had to hope Mistress and Mixtures would push through, the taunts would be able to sustain, and we had to make sure that we kind of gave him as least outs as possible. All right, so our second game is going to be against a warrior. All right, so this is going to be interesting. If this is the pirates, it's going to be rough because pirates are always a very hard deck to beat. But if he's playing control, it's not the worst thing because we have Jiraxis. But of course, we're not holding Jiraxis in the opening hand regardless. So you replaced 2 cards. You kept the one on the very left and the one on the very right. Mistress and Peddler are okay if he's playing pirates. Off the start, I don't think it's okay to play Mistress. We're not gonna, like, let's say he coined War Axes, or he plays in his Zoth's first mate, he can trade weapon and then his 1/1, and we don't actually heal 4. We do take a weapon charge and take out his charger, but it doesn't really do too much. All right, so Sir Fiddly tells us Dragon Tempo. Oh, he's going for the value game. All right. I like what you're doing. All right, so we could Peddler, or we could tap, and I kind of like tapping because he hasn't really done anything yet. If we can throw out an 8/8 and his deck doesn't run Executes if he's running like Dragon Tempo and he has a semi-slow start. All right, so it looks like he's running Pirates with a semi-slow start. Okay. Hellfire is not a bad way to go next turn, so we could drop the brand, but he'll just make the appropriate trades. I kind of like the Mistress, because then we're gonna heal, and it might weaken some of his board, but that really doesn't matter, because we're gonna Hellfire regardless next turn, right? So, I guess tapping's the best choice, because tapping's gonna get us into taunt stuff, because we know we're Hellfiring next turn, like, anyway, right? But the only time we don't Hellfire is if he plays Berserker. If he plays Berserker, that's really, really bad. So if he plays Berserker, how do we play against that? The only play against Berserker would be like the Peddler. And to look for like Soulfire. Or if we draw Shadow Bolt. Which means we'd want to tap. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to hear to play Mistress. But I don't think it's worth it. Because we're going to be killing his board anyway. So just don't play Berserker. So coin 4-drop. He's swinging face for 4 this turn. All right. So we got a good Hellfire. We're going to take a sizable amount of damage, but at least we'll have the board cleared. Unless he has like another Berserker, and then we're in trouble. Okay, so hopefully he gets a dry turn here. He taps, then we could drop Bran into like Peddler, or we could drop the Bran into the Mistress, or we could even drop the Giant if we can rip out a taunt. So there's the tap, hopefully no 2-drop, and then we can actually just go ahead and play the Giant. Okay, so the Buccaneer, we can actually just Bane of Doom that. Just to kind of get it off the board, and maybe we'll get like a Void Walker or something like that. Yeah, we don't have a great way to deal with that, and it needs to die. So, gonna Bane of Doom that. Nice, got a taunt. Feels good, feels good. Now we're just looking for Defender of Arguses and our Faceless Shamblers, because those are very important. We run 2 of each. And we also run 2 Farseers and 2 Mistresses and Mixtures, and we've drawn 1. So there's a lot of good cards in this matchup for us here. Like, there's a lot of key cards. But this is really annoying. For him, at least. I mean, if he has the Arcanite Reaper, then he's just gonna push through easy peasy. We also could like Brand into Peddler. Wow, that's an interesting card. I haven't seen someone play this in quite some time. Okay, so it's between Giant or Drake. I think we're gonna play the Giant. He's gonna choose to attack. Okay. There has to be a reason behind that.
Side effects? No. Trust me.
I don't think we enrage his dude. There's no point. So we dropped the heal, we dropped our largest creature in our hand, which can be Shadow Flamed. The reason I didn't pick the Twilight Drake is because if we need the Shadow Flame, the Twilight Drake is not the best target. Along with that, it's just, this guy can be summoned whenever, right? Like the HP this guy is gonna, as long as it's above 5, it's a decent card, but this guy can only be summoned for that low price if you have a lot of cards in your hand, which currently we do, but I can't guarantee that's going to always be a thing. So it looks like he had some really difficulty getting past this Felguard, which indeed, this Felguard saved the day. Like Bane of Doom was the MVP of this game so far, without a doubt. Like, that card came in so clutch. So we can actually Brand into Peddler, and I'm sure we can pull off something that does 1 damage to be able to kill this and also be able to attack into there. So I think we're gonna Brand into the Peddler here. Okay, so it looks like he should kill off this 2/2, but face is the place. Shadowbolt deals with it pretty nicely, so we actually can Brand, Shadowbolt, trade there, go face for 8. Or we could go Brand, Peddler, find something. I still like Peddler, though. Or we could just Drake and then Shadowbolt. But Peddler can find us heal. But this sets up for the, because if we hit face for 8, right? Puts him at 9. Yeah, then we could Peddler next turn anyway. So I guess Peddler is the safest play. We don't really need to summon the Drake right now.
Buying or selling.
Voidwalker is really good. Okay, so we Shadowbolt, we trade, we Voidwalker, we swing. Cool. Maybe playing the Drake was better. Because I forgot he's going to heal for 4. Meaning that we can't... Because I was thinking that he would be at 9 right now. And then we would just trade. But Mistress, she... I don't know why I forgot it heals them too. That's very silly of me. So now we actually gave him an additional turn to maybe do something. Which is not very good. But I do have... I have faith that Peddler will be able to deal. How much damage do we need to do? 2? So what card do we need? This always is not good. Mortal Strike? This guy runs that? Please don't tell me you run Mortal Strike. Oh, wow. Okay. So if we would have played the Twilight Drake here, we would have won. But we did not. So our safest play would be Bran into Peddler first. And then into the Farseer. So we'll pick Murgleton. Voidwalker's nice. Soulfire is also good. Can't really go wrong with taunts, to be honest. And then we're gonna heal for 6. We're gonna trade. We're gonna trade. So since he's already used one Mortal Strike, Leroy Jenkins' Mortal Strike is, Leroy Jenkins' Heroic Strike is basically the max damage he can do, or like Mortal Strike, Mortal Strike, Heroic Strike, Heroic Strike. But the chances of that are extremely thin. But if he has that, I believe that's exactly lethal, because that's 8 and then 6, which is 14 exactly. So that would be quite unfortunate, which means the play, no, that wouldn't have made sense either. Even if we would have played the Voidwalker instead of the Farseer, you would just Heroic Strike, or no, that would have actually played around double Heroic Strike. No, because he would Mortal Strike that and then just double Heroic Strike face. You right. All right, so we've gone against two very, I wouldn't say very aggressive, but fairly, yeah, I guess they would be very aggressive classes. And the Handlock without Reno has still, been able to push through. So maybe this last game we can play against a control class and see how it does versus one of those. All right, so heading into another warrior. Raffle sauces, so maybe he's playing control, maybe not. I don't like anything but the Shadow Bolt here. Shadow Bolt kills the Berserker, which this deck has a very hard time doing. We're going first, which is not my favorite, turn to go with this deck. I like second because we have coin and we can kind of pick and choose what we want to do. But turn 1 really sucks for me. With this deck, at least. I don't like it. Because we have no turn 1 play. So we're basically giving the tempo over to our opponent. While if our opponent goes first, then we can choose to tap and do cool things like that. Alright, so it looks like we're using Peddler this turn. I mean, we could tap and then Peddler next turn, but this is gonna save us the most health, hopefully, in the long run. Blood Imp, Hungering Crab, and Light Warden destroys a Murloc, so he could whip out Sir Finley, and we could destroy it. Or we could go with the Blood Imp, which is probably the most solid choice. Maybe Hungering Crab is the right choice. Do you think this guy plays Sir Finley Murgleton? Do you think he's gonna play him next turn? This would be the next level play right here, folks. Because if we draw a 2-drop, we can just throw the Blood Imp on it, and it's just, it's really annoying for them. So I suppose, alright, so if he plays Sir Finley Murgleton next turn, we're so done. The Hungering Crab would have been like the sickest thing ever. So he's gonna coin into a 3-drop, which is most likely, ooh, the Captain. So he's gonna be able to make the easy trade, and then we're gonna take 2 to the face. We can Shadow Bolt down this Captain, which is not the worst thing in the world. Kind of reduce some of this damage that we're gonna be taking. So Demon Wrath is good, Hellfire is good, anything that's going to be able to deal with this board state. Obviously Earthen Ring into Blood Imp feels pretty nice. And he's playing the minion-oriented Pirate, so this is actually good for us. Because he doesn't have Burst. He doesn't play probably the Heroic Strikes and the Mortal Strikes. You just replace those with the 4-drop 5/4, give your weapon +1 attack, and the South Sea Captain's there. And it looks like he even gets the Auctioneer guy, which is good for him. So it's going to give something +2/+2 in his hand. We can easily be able to deal with that. So I think we can actually fit in a tap, or do we want a Shambler off our 3/4 just to get a little bit more of a board going and then just tap? What's our turn 5 play? We've got nothing going on. We're gonna have this is a 3-drop 3/5, or 4-drop 3/5. So it's basically a Senjin. But do we need to play a Senjin if we have a Hellfire going on? Because he's gonna play a decent sized creature next turn. So I think we have to play an okay creature this turn. Okay. So we basically just played a Senjin Shieldmaster. Getting outvalued by the warrior in the hand. Feels kind of bad. Oh no, that's what I was scared of, is a charger like that. But it's not too bad, because let's say he would have played this, so he wouldn't have played a creature. Hellfire wouldn't have done shit. We'd actually had a PO in Hellfire. But now we can just tap in Hellfire, if I'm correct, and then we'll be just fine. No. What are you doing, Mountain Giant? The Demon Wrath would have been super sick. Would have kept our 0-1 alive, but it's alright. So this guy's going to be... We can play this guy next turn. So Giant's actually a great choice. And then we can play the Drake and then taunt them both up. We're at 19, which isn't super low, so we just have to make sure he doesn't go like crazy sauce right now. Maybe he has a dry turn, but I think he's gonna give it. Yeah, there's the +1. And we're gonna take a boatload of damage. So it looks like we're gonna go with the Giants, and unless we draw something, Bane of Doom. So we could Bane of Doom this, and hopefully it rips something big, but I have no faith. We're just gonna build a big taunt wall, and hopefully he doesn't have lethal right now. So he is 7-8. He is 10 damage. He needs 5 from hand, knowing he doesn't run burst though. Oh, that's a lot. All right. He needs 2 more damage. That's not it. That's it. All right, so this is our 1 loss in the deck guide. So it looks like he still plays the South Sea deckhands, and he plays the Heroic Strikes. So which means he doesn't play your Leroy. And I doubt he might play Greenskin too. What did he cut? He may have cut Berserkers. That's always an option. Alrighty, so we're heading into our last game here. Hopefully we can match ourselves up with something other than a Shaman or an aggressive base deck. Unfortunately not. So with this, I suppose Peddler, Farseer, Drake is always a good, you know, kind of curve, but I really don't like it, to be honest. So I think Peddler, or then I think these two are fine, but even this, we're looking for Hellfire. It's too important not to find. Bane of Doom, Peddler. Ooh. We've been burned by Bane of Doom in the past, not in this particular one, but in the when I've been deck testing this, we always seem to get Void Callers, which really sucks. That makes the card so incredibly useless. We're just gonna tap. There's no point to Peddler. If he has slow turns, we can take advantage of that with tapping, and then hopefully being able to draw into a Drake or a Giant. Okay, so he's gonna play the Totem Golem, so we could go in with the Peddler, hopefully get a decent 1-drop. Mistress is actually really nice. So is Elven Archer, because we could actually Elven Archer this, trade Mortal Coil, but Mixtures almost does exactly the same thing, but she also heals us, because this can trade directly into the Totem Golem without having to waste a coil on it, which we could use on something later. So right now he's looking for a taunt or a heal. Gets the taunt. Feels bad. Okay, so we Shadow Bolt. Is that a good option? Probably not. So I guess we could tap first, or we Peddler first. I think we Peddler first. Buccaneer does nothing. Imp does nothing. Light Warden. I think well, this actually has 1 more HP than this, but if something gets healed, I think the Imp's just the best choice, and we're just gonna tap. Again, the more times we tap, the more options we have, the closer to Hellfire we get. That's my thought process. A Thalamos, Spirit Claws, he goes face. We Bane of Doom Totem, or we Bane of Doom Thalamos? Or we Mortal Coil Thalamos? Ooh. Okay, okay. So we can just Bane of Doom this, hopefully get something real nice. That's not too bad. And we go off and just play the Giant this turn. Or next turn. We could have played it this turn and just traded into the Golem, which might have been a little bit more powerful, but I have a feeling this guy is going to have a Hex, so I'd rather him Hex a 5/6 and not have it for the Giant. So Hero Powers. Okay. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Hex. No Hex. This is good for us. So now we just drop the Giant. Or we can Faceless Shambler this guy and just play the Imp. I think this is fair. Could have fit in an extra tap, but we don't need to. There's no reason to take unnecessary damage right now. I really doubt he has a ED in his deck. So we'll be just fine, because now we can double Shambler this 8/8. and he'll lose a very, very slow and painful death. The Shaman will. So there's the Hex. Ooh, he was holding on to it. How did he know? Those next level plays. Do you kill this? No. Alright, so now there actually is merit to tap. Unless we just want to like Shadow Bolt this and just kill this and go. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's fine. You build a wall, they will come. 4-drop, 5/6 with taunt feels pretty nice. How many hexes do you have? Because I can tell you, you're gonna need a lot. Ooh, Coin Laning Swarm. All right, don't high roll me. I guess if it doesn't matter if it high rolls, if it hits 3, it's dead anyway. That feels kind of bad. Ooh, Shadow Bolt feels nice. Faceless Shambling, that feels not so nice. So I suppose we tap. Faceless Shambler seems a lot better now. Because now we can just heal this guy. And then we'll Shambler him next turn. Or if we draw into a Drake, that's good too. We have good single target removal. We've drawn into Hellfire. We've drawn into Mortal Coil. Of course, he rolls Wrath of Air Totem, which of course buffs up Jade Lightning, which will of course deal good things for him. You couldn't ask for anything better from this guy. He's a professional Shaman player. Oh god, no, don't blast Crystal Potion, you crazy. Let's go for the draw. Got another coil. I suppose we could just tap then. And then we will play the Sylvanas and kill off the Wrath of Air Totem. This guy will never win in a value matchup. Not when we have life tap and we're playing Handlock. If we were playing Reno, he actually could hold on. But the fact that we're playing Handlock, there's nothing this guy can do. Defeat is imminent. Another Jade Lightning, okay. This guy really, really, really wants it. He's holding on to what he's got. All right, so how do we want to do this? So we could Hellfire, Mortal Coil, leave this guy at 2 HP. Or we could just do this, trade there. And we could even Mortal Coil to take his 2/2, but we're not going to do that. We'll leave him with the 2/2. He's already used double Maelstrom, right? No, that was the 2 games ago. So, yeah, even if he Maelstroms, we still take a 2/2. So he's going to trade and then Maelstrom. Yeah. And then we're going to take that. Thank you very much. And it's going to give one of these Divine Shield. So his worst fear in the world right now is if it hits the 2/1. All right, we just win with the 18 on board. Sweet. So if it hits the 2/1, we win. If it hits face, we win. If it hits the 8/8, we win. And we have Siphon Soul, Blast Crystal Potion, more taunts. There's not a way in the world, guys. This deck just performs so very well once you can get past the initial, I want to say turn 5 is where this deck, you don't really, it becomes less rocky and more of a very solid, nice bridge, and you just kindly just trot across it and wave to the wind on the other side. All right, so hopefully you've enjoyed this deck guide. I love this deck. It's very, very fun, very hard in my opinion to play it correctly. There's probably some mistakes that we made along the way, but you know, I try to share my thoughts on it, what to really look for, what to do in particular situations. Unfortunately, again, we didn't play any heavy control classes, but I think it's good that sometimes we face what is on the meta, or what is being seen in the meta, because let's say we go against like control classes that aren't really like popular decks, that doesn't really help you. But meanwhile, you know, Pirate Shaman or Pirate Warrior, you know, Pirate Shaman, Aggro Shaman, all those decks are going to be around for a really long time. So playing against those the most, I think, is going to help you guys anyway, because it's not like those decks aren't going anywhere. Like, you're gonna see those decks every time you play this game. So, you know, seeing those matchups and how they play out and how I think about, or what I think about them and what you to of course do, is still helpful. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Of course, I'm Warshack, and happy whatever the hell day it is.